50 Cent's personal assistant just leaked exclusive, never-before-seen footage from a documentary he has been secretly building, and it has already ignited an absolute firestorm across the internet. The clips reportedly expose more than 10 major rappers, and at this stage, the fallout has the very real potential to obliterate careers. 50 Cent is said to be completely furious about the leak, and what has now been revealed is set to alter the landscape of hip-hop in ways nobody anticipated. In this video, we are going to break down exactly what was exposed, walk you through the shocking footage frame by frame, and explain precisely why this could cause irreversible damage to some of the most powerful and recognizable names in the entire music industry. But to truly grasp what is happening right now in real time, you first have to understand the empire that 50 Cent has been methodically and deliberately constructing around documentary filmmaking over the past several years. In more recent years, Curtis Jackson redirected a massive portion of his creative energy toward the world of television, producing a string of highly successful shows including Power and its ever-expanding collection of spin-offs. But it was one specific project, one singular undertaking, that completely transformed the way the world understood Curtis Jackson's position and power in the public eye. The four-part documentary series, Sean Combs. The Reckoning officially dropped on December 2nd, 2025, arriving just under 2 full years after Curtis 50 Cent Jackson first publicly announced he was developing the project on December 7th, 2023. The series was directed by Alexandria Stapleton, with 50 Cent attached as executive producer. The moment it landed on Netflix, it detonated across pop culture like a bomb. Public interest in the allegations surrounding Sean Combs surged to unprecedented heights with the release of the documentary, which notably featured exclusive interviews with jurors from the federal trial. But the footage that generated the most intense discussion, the footage that genuinely broke the internet, was something that absolutely nobody saw coming. In a trailer released on the eve of the premiere, Combs is seen inside a Manhattan hotel room, quietly strategizing with his attorneys during a private conference call. That footage was captured on September 10th, in Monday 2024, exactly 6 days before plainclothes law enforcement officials made their headline-dominating arrest in the lobby of that same hotel. So the burning question immediately became, how did this footage find its way into 50 Cent's hands and ultimately onto one of the world's biggest streaming platforms? That single question consumed the entire internet for weeks following the documentary's release. Combs' personal videographer, Michael Oberle, eventually stepped forward to set the record straight, alleging the footage was actually handed over by a freelance substitute he had hired to fill in during a brief personal absence. Oberle released a December 10th statement to Rolling Stone, in which he wrote, "The footage in question was not released by me or anyone authorized to handle Sean Combs' materials, and it was leaked by a third party who covered for me for 3 days while I was out of state." Oberle characterized the incident as a severe breach of professional ethics, stating that the freelancer's actions were a direct violation of the integrity that every storyteller is obligated to uphold. Put simply, a temporary fill-in worker, someone functioning essentially in a personal assistant or day support capacity, was the origin point of the leaked footage that would go on to reshape the public's entire perception of one of the most dominant figures in music history. On the other side of the equation, director Alexandria Stapleton addressed the footage's origins head-on. "It came to us. We obtained the footage legally and have all the necessary rights," she stated plainly, adding, "We moved heaven and earth to keep the filmmaker's identity completely confidential." When NBC News correspondent Chloe Mellis pressed 50 Cent directly about how he obtained the hotel room footage, Jackson responded with the kind of cool, unbothered composure that has defined his entire public persona. "I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources, and when asked whether the subject of the documentary even had any awareness that the footage had been included, 50 Cent answered without hesitation, 'I would doubt he knows.'" Following the series' enormous and immediate success on Netflix, 50 Cent dropped another bombshell on the public. There are still more than 140 hours of unreleased footage sitting in the vault that never made it into the 4-part series. During a December 10th, 2025 appearance on The Sherri Shepherd Show, 50 openly teased the potential release of raw uncut clips directly to YouTube, explaining that the original edit was simply boxed in by time constraints. Everything couldn't make it in. It was only 4 episodes, so you had to pick and choose what stayed and what didn't. That monumental success, and more importantly, the mechanism that made it possible, specifically leaked footage sourced from someone embedded within the inner circle, established something far more significant than a streaming hit. It handed 50 Cent an entirely new template, He had demonstrated to the entire world that a documentary project, when strategically paired with relentless social media pressure, could deliver far more devastating blows than any diss record ever released. And with that blueprint firmly in hand, the target shifted. On March 5th, 2026, 50 Cent made a single move that sent the hip-hop world spiraling into immediate chaos. The rapper-turned-media mogul posted a screenshot of an article claiming he was developing a brand new documentary. Tentatively titled Surviving T.I. and Tiny, the project would reportedly examine the extensive and serious allegations of rape and sexual misconduct that numerous women have brought against the couple over the past several years. The caption that accompanied that post left absolutely nothing open to interpretation. 50 Cent wrote, "Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy doc? Damn thought I wasn't coming. I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're going to ask about your 20 sexual assault cases. You might want to get on the phone with a crisis PR person right now." That post landed like a precision strike. Before it was deleted, fans, media outlets, and culture watchers had already captured and distributed every screenshot. For a brief moment before it vanished, the post revealed a sneak peek at a purported documentary that the internet was simply not prepared for. Gossip blogs, hip-hop commentators, and major media organizations all seized on the screenshot simultaneously, and just like that, the narrative was completely locked in. The title itself was a very deliberate and calculated homage to the landmark Surviving R. Kelly documentary series. Now here is the critical detail that cannot be overlooked. As of March 2026, there is no verified production schedule, no confirmed network deal, and even no actual footage that has been publicly confirmed to prove Surviving T.I. and Tiny exists as a real project. But 50 Cent understands something at a deep, instinctive level that most people simply do not. In the modern era of instant viral media, the sheer threat of an exposing documentary frequently hits significantly harder than the actual finished product itself. Although no formal announcements have been made, Fif himself alluded to the possibility that the plan was already quietly in motion, and that deliberate ambiguity is precisely the weapon he chose to deploy. By leaning into his established track record with the Netflix docuseries, 50 Cent sent a crystal-clear signal to everyone paying attention. The threat alone was more than sufficient to completely reshape the public conversation. The uncertainty? That was never a weakness. That was always the strategy. The allegations that 50 Cent chose to reference are not new developments. T.I. and Tiny first found themselves facing accusations of bad assault, alleged facilitation of bad abuse, and alleged forced drug use back in January 2021, after their former close friend Sabrina Peterson publicly shared a series of accusations from multiple women on Instagram. Within just 2 months of that initial wave, over 30 women and 1 man had come forward with claims that the Atlanta rapper and his wife had drugged, kidnapped, intimidated, and bad abuse assaulted them across both California and Georgia. T.I. and Tiny categorically denied every single allegation. In 2021, Sabrina Peterson specifically alleged that T.I. had threatened to kill her and held a firearm to her head during an incident that allegedly took place in 2009. The gap between what the legal system decided and what the court of public opinion continues to debate is exactly the space where 50 Cent has chosen to operate. The courts may have technically shut the door on criminal prosecution, but the cultural conversation surrounding these allegations has never been fully resolved, and the wounds have never fully healed. And that is the precise context for what unfolded next. By weaponizing a single deleted Instagram post, 50 Cent succeeded in forcing T.I. entirely onto the defensive, dragging years-old and deeply painful allegations back into the center of mainstream headlines and seizing complete narrative control over all of hip-hop. All of that without spending one single dollar on production. It was a textbook, masterclass-level move from a man who has spent years transforming beef into a fully operational corporate strategy. The documentary threat did not materialize in isolation. It arrived on the back of a feud between 50 Cent and T.Y. that had been steadily and visibly escalating for weeks. And the original spark was, of all things, a Verzuz battle that never came to fruition. The conflict was reignited when T.Y. went on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast and revealed that 50 Cent had privately committed to a Verzuz battle between the two, only to completely reverse course publicly without any explanation. According to T.I., this was never some random call-out that came from nowhere. While the two were traveling together through Hollywood, actively meeting and locking in television and film deals together, Tip said that 50 had seemed genuinely enthusiastic and interested in the Verzuz behind closed doors, but turned around and played dumb the moment it became a public topic on social media. T.I. was direct and unambiguous in how he felt about it. Just say you don't want to do it. All this extra lame behavior, I have absolutely zero interest in standing on any stage with him. I don't respect him. And the original plan had reportedly been for T.I. to announce his interest first, with 50 to follow. But when Tip went public with it, 50 pretended to have no idea what was being discussed and immediately launched into full troll mode. Rather than addressing it directly, privately, or through music, 50 Cent did exactly what he has become legendary for doing. He trolled with everything he had. Fifth flooded every corner of social media with jokes, memes, and surgically targeted posts aimed directly at T.I. and his entire family, most pointedly at his wife, Tamika Tiny Harris, and their son, King Harris. 50 shared an unflattering photograph of Tiny in what was widely read as a direct attempt to provoke T.I. into reacting. Then he took it further, dragging King Harris into the mix with a post comparing him to Pepe the Frog. That was the line. T.I. didn't fire back on Instagram. He went straight to the recording studio. Tip dropped War as his opening salvo, a clear and direct warning shot. He followed it up with Right One, in which he dismantled 50 Cent with precision and intensity. As of March 2026, T.I. has released 4 separate diss tracks targeting 50 Cent: War, Right One, Lessons, and What Bully. Online commentators and respected rap critics described Lessons as one of T.I.'s most compelling and polished performances in years. His 4th entry, What Bully, went directly after 50 Cent's carefully curated online tough guy image and held it against his apparent reluctance to face any actual real-world consequences. Let's be completely clear about what the scoreboard looks like from a rap perspective. This beef has been entirely one-sided. T.I. has been relentless, stacking diss track after diss track with consistent quality and intensity. Meanwhile, 50 Cent has chosen social media fodder and deliberate trolling over stepping anywhere near a recording booth. 50 Cent has not released a single diss track in response to any of it. At one point, he even appeared to wave a metaphorical white flag, wiping every T.I.-related post from his social media pages entirely and writing, "I'm out of here. You guys hurt my feelings," paired with a photo of him boarding a private jet. But everyone who has followed 50 Cent for any length of time knows the truth. Silence from 50 Cent is never surrender. It is always the quiet before something bigger. What fundamentally separated this beef from every other feud in 50 Cent's long history was the family dimension. This was not a contained 2-man rap dispute. It evolved rapidly into the entire Harris family taking on the G-Unit boss, and it escalated to places that made even the most hardened, longtime observers of hip-hop culture deeply uncomfortable. The Harris family interpreted 50's posts targeting Tiny as an act of extreme and unacceptable disrespect. T.I.'s sons wasted absolutely no time jumping into the conflict to defend their mother. King Harris blasted old, highly inappropriate images of 50 Cent all across social media. Damani Harris went further, releasing a diss track titled Miss Jackson, a song that opens with a sample of Outkast's beloved 2000 hit of the same name, in which the 24-year-old rapper addressed a pointed letter directly to 50's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who tragically died in a fire when Curtis was only 8 years old. And then King Harris dropped his own song and video, in which he appears wearing a t-shirt bearing the image of 50 Cent's deceased mother. Even Rick Ross, who carries his own well-documented history of conflict with 50, jumped into the comments with pointed remarks of his own. This is precisely where things went too far, even by T1's own standards. Tip was forced to step in publicly and draw a firm and non-negotiable boundary. He admitted openly to having significant regrets about how deep his children's involvement had gone. "I said that's enough the moment I saw that damn t-shirt," he stated publicly. "Man, chill out. I'm big on treating people the exact way I want to be treated." During a candid sit-down on the Ebro Laura Rosenberg show, the Atlanta rapper reiterated clearly that he had never needed a beef with 50 Cent to generate attention or momentum for his current music. When directly asked whether he took any pleasure or satisfaction from watching his sons King and Damani enter the battle with their own diss tracks, Tip gave a straightforward answer. He gained zero enjoyment from it whatsoever. Meanwhile, completely independent of the noise, T.I.'s music was genuinely thriving on its own merit. I'll let him know. The lead single from his forthcoming retirement album, Kill the King, was sitting comfortably at #1 at Urban Radio and climbing multiple major charts simultaneously heading into early 2026. Through every single moment of this entire saga, 50 Cent had not stepped foot inside a recording studio or touched a microphone with any intent to rap. Instead, he was consistently on social media, celebrating his achievements and visibility in the television world. That choice is not accidental. It is not passive. It is completely and deliberately intentional. 50 Cent no longer delivers his responses through rap music. He documents them, he films them, he packages them into content that generates substantial revenue and press coverage on a scale that no diss record could ever match. And that brings everything back to what may be the single most calculated piece of this entire puzzle. The documentary threat against T.I., which arrived at the precise peak moment of the beef. 50 Cent was essentially telling T.I. directly, "It does not matter how many diss tracks you drop, because if a documentary exposing your 20 bad abuse, assaulted allegations is already being assembled, none of those bars are going to save you." 50 Cent has yet to release a single diss track against any of his current adversaries, but he has systematically destroyed his enemies on film. He targeted his most recent high-profile opponent through the Netflix docuseries The Reckoning. The message delivered to the entire industry could not have been clearer. You can release every record you want, but what I have will follow you for the rest of your life. Every single action 50 Cent has taken over the past several months tells one consistent and coherent story. He has fully evolved from rapper to media executive to one of the most strategically dangerous provocateurs in all of entertainment. The leaked footage, the documentary threats, the relentless social media trolling. It is all functioning as part of the same unified revenue-generating machine. Consider the full picture. 50 Cent's 2026 Super Bowl commercial went massively viral specifically because of how deeply it leaned into his legendary status as hip-hop's ultimate provocateur. In a DoorDash commercial built entirely around his reputation for trolling, 50 Cent is seen pulling various items from a delivery bag, each one a reference to a different long-running beef from his career. The promotion plays directly on Jackson's decades-long track record of never backing away from conflict, on record or off. He has transformed beef into a brand identity, and in 2026, that brand is more profitable and culturally relevant than it has ever been. The Marlon Wayans situation illustrated the exact same playbook in real time. On December 8th, Wayans appeared on the Cruise Show podcast and challenged the objectivity of The Reckoning, questioning whether 50 was simply exploiting a man at his lowest point and warning about the concept of karma. That was all the material 50 needed. The online back and forth ignited immediately and burned for days, until Wayans' own brother Damon stepped in and told him, plainly and firmly, to stop. Why did you pick the biggest one? He survived 9 gunshot wounds. Stick to beefing with Soulja Boy and Kevin Hart, people we can actually handle. You fight him. Leave the man who got shot 9 times alone. Wayans ultimately declared the beef finished and stated he was completely open to working with 50 Cent going forward. That is how virtually every beef with 50 Cent concludes, not with a decisive knockout punch, but with the opposing side quietly and carefully backing away from the confrontation. Then there is the Papoose situation. The simmering conflict between 50 Cent and Papoose had remained largely dormant at the start of 2026, while 50 was consumed by the explosive T.I. and Harris family situation. But on March 8, 2026, just days after T.I. had taken a deliberate step back, Papoose posted a raw, unfiltered car freestyle directly over 50 Cent's classic Many Men Wish Death instrumental. He got personal from the very first bar. And true to his established pattern, 50 Cent responded not with a track but with escalating trolling. On March 13th, he posted an untitled new song while simultaneously mocking T.I., Papoose, Fabulous, and others all in one single carousel post. So where exactly does all of this leave us as we move deeper into 2026? 50 Cent currently has multiple active conflicts burning at the same time. T.I. and the entire Harris family, Papoose, Benzino, and the continuing public conversation around his Netflix documentary. Although, on top of all that sits a potential surviving T.I. and Tiny project that may or may not be a real production. He has 140+ hours of unreleased raw footage that he keeps dangling publicly like a weapon over every head in the industry. And he has a Super Bowl commercial partnership built entirely on the concept and spectacle of hip-hop conflict. When you trace everything back to its true origin, the leaked footage that first gave birth to the Netflix documentary conversation, footage that came directly from a fill-in videographer, a temporary fill-in in an assistant-level role who handed private, sensitive material over to 50 Cent's team. You see the complete blueprint in full clarity. How Netflix obtained that footage became the defining and dominant theme surrounding the entire project. And the answer, when it finally emerged, this was devastatingly simple. Someone on the periphery of the inner circle, someone in a support role, gave 50 Cent's team exactly what they needed, and that footage changed everything. Now 50 Cent uses that same fundamental logic as his primary instrument of power and threat. He does not need a fully completed, fully edited documentary on T.I. sitting in post-production. He simply needs every relevant person in the industry to genuinely believe he might have one. And given the undeniable reality that real, private, unguarded footage from inside Combs' inner circle actually ended up streaming on Netflix for the entire world to witness, nobody in this industry can afford to dismiss the possibility or call his bluff. As 50 Cent told GQ directly, if someone's not saying something, then you would assume that everybody in hip-hop is perfectly okay with what's going on. Because other rappers will say, I ain't gonna say nothing, I'm going to mind my business, because of the position that this person held in culture for so long. So that would ultimately leave me. Without me saying that I will do it, there's nobody else there. That is the exact position 50 Cent has meticulously and strategically placed himself in. The singular person in all of hip-hop who is visibly and vocally willing to do what everyone else is either too afraid or too cautious to do.